Hello again, everybody. I'm Snapper Lancaster, welcoming you to our first show in the winter segment of the Central Alabama High School Sports Show. I'm on the set with me tonight is a special guest host, Jeff Centel. And of course, Jeff covers the high school beat here in Central Alabama for AL.com. Does a fantastic job of it. And Jeff, good to see you.
Happy New Year, Snapper.
Well, thank you. Same to you and your family. And let me tell you, we got some happy coaches, especially in the football arena this year, because here in the Birmingham-Jefferson County area, we had 4 teams play for championships and 3 of them won it. That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Got some heavy hitters here today, Snapper. And you look at it, if you had to think of the Birmingham high school football Mount Rushmore this year, some of these faces, some of these mugs that are going to be on our show tonight, they're here tonight.
Well, I tell you what, and I know that when I look at the 4 teams that played in championships, and we're talking about Hoover in 7A, Clay Chalkville in 6A, Pleasant Grove in 5A, and then 4A Leeds. None of them really were a surprise, but the one that if there was going to be a surprise to me the most was Pleasant Grove.
Yeah. And it's so funny, too, because, you know, if you look at them, when the sports writers got together, and I'm not saying sports writers know everything. You TV guys know a lot more than us, but preseason, you had a preseason number 1, a preseason number 1, and a preseason number 2. So lots of teams had firepower last year. Lots of those same teams will return a lot of firepower this year.
And do you think it was a positive thing, and we'll get into this a little bit later because we only got a few seconds, but going into the 7A, do you think that was a good move from the Alabama High School Athletics Association standpoint?
That's a question I can't answer in 11 seconds. Why don't we carry it over to the break? That's a tough question.
Well, we might do that, and folks, we're going to take a quick break. We come back, our first coach of the night, our first championship coach, so don't you go away. We'll be right back.
The community features a world-class resort and spa, the amazing Robert Trent Jones Trail Golf Course, miles of historic trails, and the whole family loves the pool at Ross Park. No, are we gonna have to watch your vacation slides all night?
This was supposed to be a party.
Well, this isn't my vacation. I live here.
Ooh.
If you want to personalize that special vehicle you drive, whether it be a car, SUV, or that truck that you love so much, then you need to visit the Drive Shop. They're located between downtown Trussville and Deerfoot Parkway on Highway 11, where their fine service staff of professionals are waiting to serve you. The services include auto systems, security and remote start systems, tires and wheels, and window tinting, just to name a few. So come by and visit them today, or find them online at thedriveshop.com, or visit us on the Facebook. That's the Drive Shop in Trussville, 533-8785. Also, if you mention Snapper's name, you'll receive a 10% discount.
Good driver discount, multi-car discount, good student discount. Helping you save money on car insurance is just part of the service you get from State Farm agent Jack Trappenstead. Whether an accident or a simple question, Jack and his staff get you the help you need. And that's the value only a State Farm agent can provide. Call Jack Trappenstead today. 40 million drivers already know nobody gives more discounts to more drivers than State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
And folks, welcome back. And in this segment of our program, we've got the 6A championship coach, who happens to be Jerry Hood, of course, of Clay Chalkville. Coach, it's awfully good to see you. And first question that I would ask you, going into last season, there were a lot of high expectations for you and your football team. Going into that year, last year, how did you feel about that? And did you think that the team that you had, if all the pieces fell in place, would be a contender?
Well, certainly, you know, we're used to high expectations over the last 3 or 4 years. So we embraced that and handled that in a very positive way. I thought our kids had sufficient talent. We were a little undersized on defense, so that concerned me. But luckily, those kids come through and played at a high level. And then, of course, we kind of felt like we'd be pretty good on offense, and it turned out to be that way.
Well, the one thing that I want to ask, because a lot of times we don't get a chance and don't have as much time with the coaches we're going to have tonight, talk about your coaching staff and the continuity of it. Do you have a lot of coaches that have been with you a little while? Because I know We hear about all the time how important that is in college. It's important in high school too.
Well, I mean, it's the key. If you look at all the great programs around, they've got 3 or 4 key cogs that have been at the school for a long time. And we're no different. You know, Stuart Floyd and Sean Tosma are 2 coordinators. They do an outstanding job. We got a little bit of veteran coaching with Curtis Coleman, who was my high school defensive coordinator and longtime head coach, Hall of Fame coach, to be honest with you. And every now and then we'll add one in. You know, this year we added Obed Ellis as our offensive line coach from Prattville. But for the majority, there's 6 guys that have been with me for at least 5 years, and 3 or 4 that's been all 6 years. So, yeah, that's super important, and they're very talented. It's been fun to watch them grow.
Coach, I know you like to teach football through life, teach life through football a lot. You know, as a professional and as a competitor, you sought this championship maybe in your younger years, like, gosh, it'd be great to win a state title.
Yeah.
In the last few years, though, you've shed different light on it, and we've had conversations and interview. When you won the title, how was it different than what you maybe thought it might be?
Well, I'm old enough now that it's in a really good place prospectively. You know, it was fun to win the state championship, but I really enjoyed it for the kids and our community because they deserved it. They bought into what we wanted to do over there at Clay, and they've supported it. And it's fun to see them stick their chest out, be happy they're from Clay Chalkville. And it's fun for the kids to understand that all those times that we were telling them, there are no victims. You're going to make your life into what you choose to make your life into. And this little football thing is a microcosm of that. So what it does is offer hope. And when you have hope, you know, you can accomplish a lot of things. So it was fun and all that kind of stuff. But to be honest with you, you get to celebrate for about 4 minutes, and then you have to take a bunch of pictures and go off and do some interviews. And the kids had a great time. I saw on YouTube in the locker room while I was tied up. But I mean, it was an awesome trip, something that our kids will never forget.
Coach, how do you, maybe you've thought about this when you're already doing your next season's preparation, is how do you go from a program that was on the hunt and wanted to get to the mountaintop, and then what will be the message next year when the bullseye's there and you guys have to defend something? Will that be a different philosophy or operating system in your program a little bit?
Well, if you evaluate the teams that we play, we're already that team and have been that team. In the regions we've been in the last 4 years, we are the target. So we're used to that in a way. And then when you get in the playoffs, you know, Florence, when they beat us last year, you know, obviously we were the target then. This year, they came in, probably the best thing that happened is they got a better reputation as they went on throughout the year. And so it gave us a little edge, you know, so I think we're able to handle those things in the right way. But somebody asked me today, you know, what are you going to do to combat complacency? And I said, well, if you know me, there's not going to be any complacency. We will fire people until you understand that you've got to work at this level all the time, which really allows you to win championships. It's not whether you won it last year or not win. We're there. We're one of the best teams in 6A, and so we need to work at a level to deserve to win the championship. Whether we will or not, who knows, but we're going to deserve it.
Coach, you ever given any thought to seeding the playoffs? That's one of the things sports writers kind of knock around when how do we make it better? It's already good, but our rallying cry is we want to find a way somehow that the very best game in the bracket should end up to be the state championship game. Now, we had a great 6A state championship game this year. What's your take on that, whether playoffs should be seeded? And, you know, some people say we shouldn't travel, costs, transportation, but then other people say it's a state tournament and you should go across the state and maybe not play your backyard neighbor so early.
Well, we already do regions to combat the travel issue. And so in the playoffs, you ought to play somebody out of your little local area because you probably know them in some way. The only concern I would have about seeding would be who seeds it? Who decides that Clay Chalkville, you know, I'd be rallying for, you know, please put me at number 8.
Yeah,
and then get the hard team out of the way, and then you can go on, do your deal. So I think that has probably some problems with it as it stands today, but I don't think it's a bad idea at all.
Coach, another thought that comes up is this past year, if you had to it's probably very, very hard to rank the moments, but you have chapters where you get your turf field.
Yeah.
You lose an important leader of your program,
Right.
and it's just a tragic day. You play on ESPN. You go all the way and win the state champion. You lose the all-time leader in school history and continue on in the playoffs. I mean, that's a whole lot of emotion for one state championship season.
Well, you know, it's kind of like reading a book. You know, you start out with the expectations in the spring of let's see what all we have, and then we, you know, lost Mikael Evans, and that was a tragic thing. And then we go through the summer with the, you know, turf field finally getting installed. That's a big deal for Jefferson County, a big deal for Clay Chalkville. And then we go and play on the ESPN. And at that moment, the way our kids handled all of that, playing in the middle of the day, 120 degrees on the field, and then coming out and dominating that team, you knew right then there's something special about these kids, whether or not they win the state championship or not. This is a special group. And it continued on through the year. You know, we lost one of our players' parents, and he was a backup player. And then Terrell gets hurt, and here he comes in and has almost 500 yards in the postseason. So, you know, God had his hand on us in a lot of ways. I don't think he really cares whether we won the state championship or not, but he protected us and allowed us to continue with a positive attitude.
Well, you know, one thing you just touched on, Coach, was if you're lucky, you have a minimum of injuries or personal problems, that affect the team. But a lot of times, due to the leadership of you and your assistant coaches, sometimes adversity brings out the best in people. Mm-hmm. I think going into the playoffs and when you lost Terrell West, was it the second or third game? Second game.
Round two.
So then I know you lost a big part of that offense, and you wondered what a way the youngster that stepped in did, what a great job he did. But not only that, but the leadership of the other players.
Yeah.
Talk about, did you think that there might be a little bit of a drop, because it sure didn't seem like it
Well,
was?
first of all, what we never will do is allow our circumstance to dictate how hard we play or the opportunities we have in a particular game. So we were not motivated by the tragedies or anything like that. We just wanted to play this game for what it was, just because it's fun to play. Now, when we lost Terrell, to be honest with you, and this is hard for a lot of people to understand, there was not even a blink of an eye. It was Art's in, we're going to do the same thing we've always done, because he's played all year. He's been a heavy contributor. He's not Terrell, but he has his own set of skills that are college worthy. So we didn't feel too bad about it. And sure enough, you know, he brought us a long way and continued what we like to do.
Well, now I know we've been talking the football aspect, and we've got a few extra minutes. One thing I want to ask you, and I don't know how many times I've asked you this, but I try to ask coaches every once in a while, because we don't want to lose this fact. In your profession, behind every good coach, there's a good coach's woman. I want you, wife, I want you to talk about your family and the support you have from your family, because I know you have a special family.
Well, you know, they're interesting. You know, my wife is the principal at Mountain Brook High School, so that our two jobs create a time-consuming type of life. And then we have 4 kids that we've had now for 6 years, and Olivia, Christian, Daniel, and Vika. They're 15, 14, 11, and 9 now. So it's been fun to watch them grow, and the good Lord's really blessed our family, and we just have an awesome time. When I leave here, I'm going to YMCA basketball practice. We do that every day, and on the weekends we watch the kids play whatever sport they're involved with. So we've got a good life, and they're very supportive of what we do. And they, you know, they have a lot of fun with it. They love those boys at Clay. I mean, and the boys at Clay really take to my kids, and that means a lot to me. And so we have a blast every day.
Well, that's great. Listen, we've only got a little over a minute left. The one last question that I will ask you, and let you answer it whichever way you feel led to. But we talk about the players all the time having that bullseye on their back. Well, the coaches do too, because you're the leading those the players and your team into the next season. Looking down the road, what does it look like for you and your team next year, and can you have the same type high expectations and feelings for next year that you had this past year?
Well, we have the high expectations, but that's a product of what we've done there over the 6 years. It's not because we won the state championship this year and we didn't win it the year before. We do that because that's the way you're supposed to play. We want to get better each and every day, and that's our goal, and that's simply the goal. So if we win it, great. If we don't, great. We're going to move on with life.
Well, Jerry, once again, thanks for coming up. We appreciate you coming in. Yep. We appreciate the championship and the job that you and your fine staff do at Clay Chalk.
Thank you very much.
Folks, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, Coach number 2, don't you go away. We're coming right back.
The community features a world-class resort and spa, the amazing Robert Trent Jones Trail Golf Course, miles of historic trails, and the whole family loves the pool at Ross Park. Now, are we gonna have to watch your vacation slides all night?
This was supposed to be a party.
Well, this isn't my vacation. I live here.
Ooh.
Are you sure we should take this billboard down?
People find out State Farm does car loans as well as they do insurance. Our bank is through.
Good point. Grab an edge.
Look, there's 2 guys on the State Farm Borrow Better banking sign.
No, for real, there's 2 dudes on the State Farm
Borrow Better banking sign.
Gentlemen, please get down from the State Farm Borrow Better banking sign. Phil, get the hose.
Okay, he's getting the hose.
All right, let's go.
Want to borrow better? Contact State Farm agent Thomas Waters about a car loan that can save you hundreds.
Land of Frost Premium is America's best-selling 1-pound deli pouch, now available in 12 delicious flavors, including new flavors of mesquite turkey and cotto salami. High school athletes across the country ask for Land of Frost by name. These great items are available at your local grocer, including Piggly Wiggly, Food Giant, Western supermarkets, and many more. Land of Frost also makes other varieties of lunch meats, including deli shaved bistro and sub sandwich kits. Land of Frost is a proud sponsor of youth sports as well.
Take your taste to a different place. It's the taste of hamburger heaven. A taste of heaven is always best. Now you know that you're blessed. Give your taste a whole new spin. Bring your friends and come on in. Take your taste to a different place. It's the taste of hamburger heaven.
And welcome back, folks. In this segment, we're going to be visiting with another championship coach. And, of course, we're talking about Keith Edwards, the Leeds Green Wave. And, Coach, always good to see you.
Great to see you.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
Another championship out of somebody that has much talent and much as ability as you do. A lot is expected out of you. And you and your program, y'all do a fantastic job there. Going into this year, I'll ask you sort of like we asked the coach before you, did you feel like that your athletes were, if everything went well, that you had a chance to put together this type of season?
Yes, sir. I mean, we really did. We go into every year wanting to go 15-0 and want to win the state championship. Our kids believe in that, and they strive for it. And we thought we had a chance, barring any injuries. And you always have to add that in there, especially with a smaller school like we are. But we really figured we had a chance to win it.
Well, during the course of a season, you have a lot, not a lot, but some peaks and valleys. All coaches, all programs do. Did you have any situations that happened during your all season where you thought it might affect you in a negative way to keep you from reaching the goal that you finally attained? Well,
we slipped up in the Davil game. We turned the ball over 4 times and had 19 penalties for 178 yards. So you can't beat any good team like that. But I really think at that point, it really transformed our team and changed us. They sort of understood they wasn't unbeatable, and from that point on, we didn't give up a whole lot defensively. I would say, I would say 28 points from that point on. And, we did a great job offensively of, limiting the turnovers. And I think we had 1 turnover in the playoffs and also limiting the penalties. So I think it sort of woke us up.
I know one of the things that we like to talk about with the coaches, and we've got a few extra minutes tonight, talk about your coaching staff and the continuity that you have there at Leeds with your staff, because it's so important and people don't realize exactly what the assistant coaches do for you guys.
Oh, my coach has been amazing. Those guys have worked tirelessly. You got Dale Burnett, Brent Reese, and Ryan Shell, who's been there a while now. I think Ryan's been there 8 years. Dale and Brent's been there 20 plus years, so those guys have been around. Brent's been a head coach before, so I lean on him really hard, ask a lot of questions. I haven't been doing it too long, but, I've got some great guys around me. We added Matt Hicks, came over from St. Clair County, who's a state champion wrestling coach, and he did our offensive defensive line. And then we also added Rayford Williams, And of course, we have some guys that played for me that come back and help coach. I got one guy that's in med school that actually comes and helps, Zach Elkins, who was an all-state player for me. So, and a lot of other guys, Jesse Turner, who also played on a couple state championship teams. So those guys mean the world to me, and they work tremendously hard.
Keith, as a head coach, everybody uses the phrase, maybe your job is to be the CEO or coach your coaches. In your program, do you treat it like everybody's got their own field of expertise and you let them be a professional and handle that field? Absolutely.
I think as a head coach, you have to do that if you want to be successful. You can't micromanage, you have to let your guys coach. And, like all these coaches that are here tonight, all of us have great staffs. You're only as good as your staff is and as good as your players are. I always say it's got a lot more to do with the Jimmys and Joes than it does the X's and O's. So, but the X's and O's have a lot to do with it, and those guys do a great job. And I couldn't ask for a better group of men to be around, not only as coaches but as men.
Lots of times the coaches I talk to, whether they call it the toy box or whatever, they like it whenever it happens over a weekend or maybe a Monday where everybody gets together, your coaches, and you figure out where are we vulnerable, where can we attack this team, what can we do? That whole everybody throws stuff on the wall and sees what's. Do you guys have something similar to that, or how does that work?
Absolutely. I can name numerous times we've been in the coach's office going at each other. I mean, just saying we can't do this, we can do this, we can't do this. And just seeing what kind of game plan we're going to put together, and we may be at each other in the coach's office. I mean, just tooth and nail, but once we walk out that door, we're on the same page, and we're going to do what benefits the kids that we coach and do whatever we can do to put them in a position where they have an opportunity to win a football game.
Could you categorize what 3A to 4A meant from a player standpoint? Does that mean the other guys has one or two more athletes on the field, another 2 or 3 quality options on a rotation on a defensive line? If you had to put your finger on maybe a difference between moving up in class from 3A to 4A, what would it be?
I think trying to get less people going both ways, trying to get more kids involved, and trying to two platoon a little more and not putting as many guys in on both sides of the ball, and that helped us down the stretch. We stayed healthy, we didn't have as many guys injured, and this year we had enough talent where we could do that a little more. You still had the Mike Rankins, the D'Angelo Websters, those guys, Jacoby Lockharts, who had to go both ways. But, we found ways to spell them and not play them all the time, and that helped.
Have you had your team banquet yet? Have you had one of those yet?
We won't do it till either late February or early March.
Have you thought about those things you'll say yet to the team? Like, how would this team be remembered? I mean, the 08 team has great offensive and defensive lines. Your other champion had great running backs.
Right.
How do you think this one should be remembered?
I think they're multiple. I think this team had I think we were as good offensively as we've been. Defensively we were pretty dominant up front. And it's always good knowing you got those guys coming back. You got all 4 of those guys coming back, and I think we threw the ball a lot better this year than we have in the past. So every one of those groups are special. You sit there and talk about who's the best. Every one of those groups are special, and I've listened to it ever since we won the championship. They're like, oh, I think 08's better. Oh, I think 2000. So, and that's fun when you can talk about those things. That's a lot of fun. But each one, possesses great qualities.
And what about, I think most of that great defensive line's back, a lot of that offensive line's back. You got a running back back, a quarterback back.
Yeah.
What do you like having returning next year, and maybe what might be the holes for the Green Wave next year?
We lost all our linebackers, so we got to have some younger guys step up. We got some good younger guys there. We lost a guy, D'Angelo Webster, who played linebacker and, fullback all the time on offense. So we lost Tyler Wright, who's 1,400 yards rushing on offense and 150 tackles on defense. So, you know, there's some holes to fill, but we feel real good about what we have coming back. You know, when you got those 4 defensive linemen coming back, you know, and that's what Tyler always said. It's easy to, you know, play linebacker when everybody up front demands a double team. You know, he was quick to say that. You know, he said it makes it easy to run to the football when nobody's getting to you.
Well, I know, Coach, one thing that we talk about a lot is when we're looking at the pros, you got your offense and defense. When you look at the college, you got your offense and defense. When you look at 6A and 7A primarily, you have the offense and defense. The challenge of the job that you and coaches that are in classifications like yourself, talk about that challenge of the two-way player, because it imposes and causes a whole lot of adjustments that have to be made that some of the other coaches don't have to deal with. It's sort of a different ball game, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but, you know, to me, you know, I think the kids want to play both ways. And all the other coaches will tell you, you know, if they got a guy who strictly plays offense, he's always talking about playing defense too. If there's a guy that's playing on the line, he's always talking about getting the ball and, you know, having a chance to run the ball and things like that. They want to do both. So when you have a kid that's got the ability to do both, it's nice to be able to put him out there and let him do both, you know. And, you know, at the 6A and 7A level, the guys are so strong and so big, and, you know, if you keep them out there that much, you know, the odds are they're going to get injured before the end of the year. And I think that has a lot to do with playing guys on one side of the football. So, you know, with us, you know, it's sort of easier to play a guy both ways and then not take as much of a pounding.
Well, I know when we're able to recognize coaches such as yourself for doing an outstanding job, winning championships, the other thing we like to be able to do is to have you talk about your family, because that's the secret support that a lot of times very little is said about, but they mean so much to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My wife Allison's amazing. You know, she's a true coach's wife. She's a, you know, backbone of our family. You know, Mackenzie, 7-year-old daughter. She loves the frilly dresses, but she loves to go out and catch the lizards and all that stuff. So she's a typical coach's daughter. Loves to be in the cheerleading uniform on Friday night. You know, in Camden, he's my 11-year-old boy, and the guys really do a great job of taking to both him and my daughter, and you know, communicating with my wife when she's there. She's like their second mom, and anytime they need something, they'll be quick to tell her, and then she'll tell me. So they know the easiest way to get it is to tell her, and then she'll tell me.
Coach, what do you feel, I don't know, when you were a young coach, what part of the game did you love the most? And are you still able to hold on to that as a veteran coach now with 3 state championships? Is that still what's still your most important part of coaching to you?
I just love the competition. You know, I feel like if you can't play anymore, closest you can get to it is to coach it. You know, I love the feel of Friday nights. I love, you know, getting in there and getting the guys fired up, and those kids do a fantastic job of getting ready on Friday nights, and the coaches do a great job. And I truly feel like the closest you can get to playing, if you can't play anymore, is to coach it. So I've been blessed. I've really been blessed.
Would that also be when you see those former players like like a Rankins will come back one day, but like Zach Elkins and like Jesse Turner,
right,
when those guys still want to be a part of your program and they can impart knowledge, that's got to be a special feeling.
Absolutely. You know, you see them coaching the same things, you coach them. So it's special, you know. Randy Carnathan's been out there working with the D-line some, you know. You got a kid, you know, you see kids accomplish things that they haven't accomplished. You know, we had one in the weight room this past week that, you know, benched over 400, and he was fired up and pumped, and, you know, so it's exciting to see them do things that they thought they couldn't do, you know, so that's always fun. That's the fun of it.
Well, Coach, I tell you what, you're at the top of your game as coaches go and say, and I expect next year, and I'm sure you do, you've got some outstanding talent coming back, and you're expecting another run at it next year. But as the old saying goes, let's enjoy this one.
Absolutely.
And they're all different, and they're all the same in a lot of ways. But it's always good to see you, but especially when we can recognize you as a state-winning coach, a championship coach again.
Thanks, Snap. Appreciate it.
And folks, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, one more coach to talk with. Don't you go away. Land of Frost Premium is America's best-selling 1-pound deli pouch, now available in 12 delicious flavors, including new flavors of mesquite turkey and cotto salami. High school athletes across the country ask for Land of Frost by name. These great items are available at your local grocer, including Piggly Wiggly, Food Giant, Western supermarkets, and many more. Land of Frost also makes other varieties of lunch meats, including deli shaved bistro and sub sandwich kits. Land of Frost is a proud sponsor of youth sports as well.
Take your taste to a different place. It's the taste of hamburger heaven. A taste of heaven is always best. Now you know that you're blessed. Give your taste a whole new spin. Bring your friends and come on in. Take your taste to a different place. It's the taste of hamburger heaven.
The Drive Shop in Trussville not only personalizes cars, SUVs, and trucks, they can personalize your motorcycle or ATV as well. They also specialize in automotive accessories to fit your specification. They provide performance and fuel economy upgrades, lift kits, off-road accessories, custom lighting, bed liners, and much more. Once again, that's the Drive Shop, located just north of downtown Trussville on Highway 11. They're open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., and on Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The number to call, 533-8785, or visit us online at thedriveshop.com or like us on Facebook. Don't forget, you'll receive a 10% discount if you mention Snapper's name.
And this will be your premium right here.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to say I combined home and auto with State Farm.
Saved $760.
Love this guy.
Okay, does it bother anybody else that the mime is talking? Freaky.
Bundle home and auto, and you could save $760.
That's 760 very good reasons to call Alan Gurdeau in Trussville today.
The community features a world-class resort and spa, the amazing Robert Trent Jones Trail Golf Course, miles of historic trails, and the whole family loves the pool at Ross Park. No, are we gonna have to watch your vacation slides all night?
This was supposed to be a party.
Well, this isn't my vacation. I live here.
Ooh.
And folks, welcome back in this segment. Of course, we're going to be visiting one of the coaches that it doesn't surprise us that almost year after year, they're either winning titles or playing for championships and coming in second. And just a credit to their school, their coaching profession, and all of the people in the Hoover Nation, as the old saying goes. And of course, we're talking about Josh Nibley, the coach. Always good to see you. And congratulations on another state championship.
Well, to God be the glory, and appreciate you having me on, and look forward to talking with you guys.
Well, I tell you what, like you said, it's something, judging from where you're sitting, it never gets old, does it?
No, it doesn't, and don't ever take it for granted. You know,
right.
I mean, you know, you're blessed with opportunities every day, you know, whether it's football or life or whatever. And, you know, if you're a true competitor, you know, you seek to want to win it and finish first, and doesn't matter how many times that happens. It always sets up for the next one. So, you know, like I said before, we've been blessed to be able to have the success that we've had, but we've been surrounded by a lot of good people and a great supporting cast.
Well, the obvious question that I would have, and I don't know how, Jeff and I haven't talked about this, but after starting out the season 0-2, playing two outstanding teams, and I'm sure you expected to win one or both those games. It did not happen. But was the confidence injured at all in that, or did it just give you that much more fire you and your players to
I mean,
go
of
forward?
course, if you lose 2 games out of the gate and you just got through winning 30 in a row, I mean, sure, everybody's kind of like, well, what's going on, you know? So, you know, but I think it allowed us an opportunity to kind of find our identity and see where we're at. And there's a lot of things that were, you know, that kind of went on that nobody really knows about with injuries and some other things that, you know, we don't make excuses about what we're doing, but it did mess our identity up a little bit in some areas. But I do think that, you know, our guys will be the first to tell you that, you know, when our seniors were juniors and they were sophomores, they really could just kind of play. You know, that was kind of the way they led, by playing. And, you know, when you become a senior, it becomes more than just playing. You know, it becomes you now making sure you got the heartbeat of the team that you're lead guiding, directing by your actions, both, you know, by everything that you're doing. And it's not just about playing anymore. And I think once we lost that second game on the ride home, I think a lot of guys felt like not only did we have to find our identity on the field, but find our identity off the field. The next week we come back and we win 12-0, and our kids are excited, But then at the same time, you're kind of thinking our kids are excited. We just won 12-0, So we didn't know exactly where we were, but what it was our kids just needed to get that off their back, and boy, we had a sense of urgency after that, and I think we, from then on, played some really good football. We were in some different situations in different games with different opportunities. I think our kids made the most of everything that we were doing. I'm just very proud of this senior class. There's a lot of expectations that were on that class.
Coach, where do you think you found your identity? You had a bunch of guys that were players that weren't really leadership roles. When did it happen? When did you feel like the ship was really where you wanted it to go?
Man, I tell you when it happened was I think probably the first thing that you would think about as a coach or as somebody outside the bubble looking in that you wouldn't think it was the best situation for it to happen was the night of the Oak Mountain game. And, it rained. We had a rain delay, so you wonder whether your kids are going to be prepared. Can they handle that sitting in there? And normally you got 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds. A lot of times, just sitting around is not what, as a coach, that's the reason you don't usually go in the locker room because, you'll probably be ill by the time, you get out because everybody has their different ways that they get ready for the game. But our kids were so locked in. We scored on the first play of the game, and then our defense played really, really well against a hard offense to defend and to learn in 3 or 4 days after coming off 2 losses. And our offense played really, really well. And I think at that point in time, we found our identity. The next week we go to Thompson, play really, really well on the road. And then we get a break, I believe it was, and then we played Spain Park. And, I just can't say enough about the group. And the thing I'll tell, at the end of the banquet, at the end of the year, which will be the end of January, is this group was like a lot of brothers. When I grew up with my brother, we had our moments where we got into it, in fisticuffs and, being physical, and we competed all that. And our kids had an edge about them, and that was our acronym this year was EDGE. Everyone demand greatness every day. And I talked to them every day about having an edge about what you're doing, how you live life, how you go about practicing. There were times at practice where we'd have a few little extracurriculars going on because they compete. But they're the best of friends and a great brotherhood off the field. But I'm telling you, when they got in between the lines, the reason we played so well on Fridays is because when we went to practice, the offense didn't see the defense as brothers. And vice versa. They got after it. And that's what made it so fun on Fridays to watch them play.
Coach, what's still, maybe when you got into coaching, what was your favorite part of the game? And have you held on to that part of the game that's your favorite, or has it evolved?
Well, I still love coaching sides of the ball. I still love coaching players. I'm not just a CEO guy. I'm very hands-on. You know that. I love the strength and conditioning part, but I love the mental element of the game of getting kids ready to play, getting kids to believe that they can do things maybe that somebody else doesn't believe they can do, helping kids understand that later on in life it's not going to matter the circumstances that you come into. It's going to be the choice you make for greatness. And I think that's the part I love about the game. I love the 5 minutes that I get with them before we go out on the practice field, where I get to talk to them not just about football but about life, and then how are we going to apply that to what we're doing during the week. And give the kids an identity, give the kids something to hang their hat on. I love talking offensive football. I love talking defensive football and we call our special teams. But if I really had to say what the first day that I became a head coach in high school till right now, that hasn't changed, that I still love that part of the game, is getting kids motivated and doing little things and doing them the right way.
How do you notice when football overload's happening and you need to go character, you need to go life, or you need to go perspective?
I just don't let it overload. I think there's times, of course, we're going to meet, we're going to watch tape, we're going to do the things that it takes. But I think at times you got to give the kids a day off. I think there's times where you got to give the kids a break off. I think instead of coming in at, in the morning real early, that you give them 15 more minutes. You maybe later on in the week you give them more 30 minutes or whatever it may be. I think you play music at practice. You allow the kids an opportunity to be kids, and because I do think if long as you let them understand what they've got to do to be successful, and don't get me wrong, when it's time for a walkthrough, I expect you to be locked in. I think when it's time to practice and play, it's time to be locked in. But there's a time, as far as our staff and our coaches and our players, where we have a great time around each other fellowshipping, and I think you got to have that, and you got to have a happy medium, and you got to know where to draw the line.
Josh, I think one thing that maybe is really never covered enough when it comes to your program is like the expectations at Hoover as one of the destination schools in Alabama, as a flagship, and you've succeeded and you've met those expectations. But I think you've kind of transitioned into a role now as maybe I think you're an ambassador for the game of football in Alabama, and I mean that because of the work you've done with Heads Up Football and everything else you've done. All the safety concerns with mamas about the sport, and some of them are very legitimate about teaching the game the right way. Why has that been important to you to kind of continue the game and to keep that game alive and fresh in the state of Alabama?
Well, I love the game of football. Football's been big to me and my family. My dad was a high school football coach for 35 years, and my brother played college football. My dad played college football. I played college football, and I just see the game, and I know how it helped me grow. When I was in kindergarten playing or in the first grade, I can remember the first time I ran the wrong way. It taught me that if you run the wrong way, you'll pay a price for it, even when you're in the first grade. So, but I think just growing up and being around the sport, I don't think I'm kind of biased because that's what I love to do. And but I don't know if there's another sport that can teach you about discipline, teach you about commitment, teach you about when your nose gets a little bit bloodied, you got to get up off the mat. Doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down, it's about how many times you get up. It's about showing up every day, being committed to the process, being committed to the standard. And I tell our guys, I don't know if there's another sport to teach you how to be a better man, to be a better husband, to be a better father one day. And I want the sport taught right. That's why we do coaches clinics. That's why, the Heads Up program with USA Football. That's why we try to have the moms more involved with what's going on, because I think that's important. Because like I said before, we want to be a family, but I think this thing's got to be a fraternity. And if we're not careful, we're going to lose the game faster than we're going to keep it if coaches have got to step forward and speak on the right things and do the right things.
Because it is changing. Coaches tell me that they're worried what will be called a thud in the new world going further when contact is limited. And how do you find out who the guy is? Who's the guy that won't back down?
But between you and I think the reason we're so effective on Fridays, you've watched us practice, and I think we go to the ground one time before the season, and that's in a live scrim. That's it. Never again during the year do we ever go to the ground except on Friday nights. I don't think you have more injuries by doing that. I think you cut down on that. I think it gives your kids a better chance to be fresh. And then they understand tackling during the week because they're not leaving their feet and landing on the ground. So we teach the proper ways of doing it, whether it's on air, whether it's on thud, or whether we're doing it full speed. Our kids understand the tempo at which we want to do it at.
Well, I tell you what, Coach, I'd be remiss. One question I've enjoyed asking and talking to coaches about your support system, your family. And talk about what your family has meant, because I know that they are a great inspiration to you and what you do.
Well, I use the old adage that I outpunted, my coverage for sure. My wife, Karen, just, when I first married my wife, she didn't know really, what that was going to entail with being a football coach's wife. And I started her out in college, coaching college ball, so you can imagine what that was like. But just a true blessing. She's so supportive of what we do. And, she's very supportive in what we do, and she's very active in what we do, and loves being a part of it. And then Shaw, who's a freshman, who's going to be a sophomore next year, so I'll have one in the program. And then, Harper's a fast-pitch softball, and she's a great athlete in middle school. And then Sky, my youngest one, who's in the third grade, loves football, plays football. So I am truly blessed to be around great people. My brother's on our staff, so my dad comes back and mom comes back to every ball game. It means something to them to be back. So it's not just about the family at home, but it's the family also within my mom and dad and brother and sister, and she comes to the game. But it's also the family we have within the walls of our culture that we build within our facility. That all those people are so special to me, and I would not be where I'm at right now without that.
Well, I tell you what, I couldn't agree with Jeff more talking about you personally. Even though I'm a Vestavia guy, I mean this with as sincere as I can be, and that's the part that I think you're a great ambassador, not only as a coach.
Well, I want you to know this too. I respect, and I think Jeff can speak for this because he's been around me a good bit. I really respect every program. There's some great programs around this area and in the state of Alabama. We need to be very proud of what we're able to do. We've been very fortunate to have a lot of success, but at the same time, I got a lot of respect for the tradition and the programs that are here. Not only guys that were here tonight, but also the other programs that may not have gotten to play for it. That work hard each and every week, and we're blessed to have the game of football in this state.
Well, Coach, always good to see you. Congratulations on another championship, and I know that's the goal next year.
Well, God bless you, and thanks for having us.
We'll be right back, folks, to wrap this show up. Don't you go away.
The community features a world-class resort and spa. The amazing Robert Trent Jones Trail Golf Course. Miles of historic trails, And the whole family loves the pool at Ross Park. No, are we gonna have to watch your vacation slides all night?
This was supposed to be a party.
Well, this isn't my vacation. I live here.
Ooh.
And this will be your premium right here.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to say I combined home and auto with State Farm.
Saved $760.
Love this guy.
Okay, does it bother anybody else that the mime is talking? Freaky.
Bundle home and auto, and you could save $760.
That's 760 very good reasons to call Ted Townley in Homewood today.
Well, Jeff, that was a mighty impressive group of coaches we just visited with, wasn't it?
I tell you what, they're all champions this year, and when you have your kickoff show in the fall, I wouldn't be surprised if all three of those teams are sitting at #1 in their classifications when the year starts.
And talking about that now, we realize this is the first winter program in our first program in our winter segment. So we're naturally into basketball season, wrestling and indoor track. I guess we've got a couple of minutes here and we want to talk just a little bit about who, I already see it looks like a Bucky McMillan and Mountain Brook looks like they're on the roll again. But what does it look like on in the different classifications for basketball here in the Birmingham area?
Well, you asked the question in our open about what does the 7A world mean. Well, in football, the 7A world really, it kind of spaced out the really great teams to me. There was really only a couple of good teams in 7A this year. There was maybe 8 really good teams in 6A this year. That's why I thought those playoffs were better. And you'll see some of that paralleled now in basketball season. You know, I was talking to some coaches about a week ago, and they thought the 7A champion this year would be very weak compared to the 6A teams that played for it last year. And, you know, Mountain Brook is still very good. They just had a key win against Spain Park the other night. I think those two teams will play 4 times, and I think one of them will eventually make it the way to the BJCC, but they'll play twice in the area play, once in the area tournament, and then they'll both go to the same regional in Jacksonville. Spain Park will be the hot team in Birmingham right now. They got 2 sophomores among the nation's best players, Buck Johnson's son, Jamal Johnson, Vicky Orr's son, Austin Wiley, who's 6'9", one of them 6'4". They might even be ACC basketball good. They're so good. And then you have 6A would be wide open. I think the last count, there were 6 Birmingham teams in the top 10 in 6A. That's like Bessemer City, Homewood, Woodlawn, Clay Chalkville. You know, there's a lot of really good contending teams in 6A, and I believe Bessemer City is another really great one. We wouldn't know, we really don't know how that's going to shake out. And in basketball, you don't need 45 good players to make a good team. If you got about 8 to 10, you're really going to have something. So I think basketball is going to be different as well in terms of, you know, it's no longer a Final 48, it's a 56 format. And the games will be going the whole week that week at the BJCC.
What about the girls? Very quickly, our time's running low, but 7A, 6A girls, who do you see the power there?
Well, you got to look at all the usual staples there. I think Spain Park's pretty good this year. Their basketball program is really up this year. Hoover's basketball program is always very good. You go up and down the list, and you know you've got a lot of the same teams in girls basketball that are going to be really good. Maybe we don't have the great SEC talent littered around Birmingham as we had in the years past, but you know, you've got a lot of teams that will make for a very interesting postseason.
And then very quickly, hitting wrestling just a second, we got 2 or 3 good teams here in the Birmingham area that vie for state titles on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's funny. It used to be Vestavia and a Hoover conversation, but over the last 5 years, Thompson High School has become the team. And they're a dynasty in every sense of the world. They've won 4 in a row now. I think they're going to go for 5. This year, and that program really is a machine. There's a popular club area in Thompson that's drawn a lot of players in. They're getting great training, and that high school wrestling program is really benefiting from it.
Well, I tell you what, Jeff, it's always good to have you come sit in with me. I enjoyed, I appreciate your knowledge, and of course, I think we both love talking high school athletics and sports with these outstanding coaches.
Definitely.
So, folks, we look forward to next week, same time, same place. So then, you know what the snapper always says, bicycle.